Before we get into the normal video, I want to wish Universal as a company the most severe STD they could possibly get. This is a re-upload with all the original footage removed because Universal decided to block my video on almost every country possible. Sorry for sounding unbelievably fucking pissed, but that is because I am, and to everyone else who doesn't work for Universal, I hope you enjoy this video. I'd be a piece of shit scoundrel if I said that I enjoyed the first Jurassic World. It's got awful characters, very mediocre set pieces, and worst of all, Jimmy fucking Fallon. So to the surprise of myself, past me actually purchased a ticket to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and no, I wasn't blasted. I just do stupid shit at 4 AM. Now this would be fine and dandy if I didn't purchase IMAX tickets for $15 fucking dollars, so I felt obligated to go. This video will contain spoilers, and frankly, you really shouldn't give a shit considering this is a sequel to Jurassic World. The first scene puts us alongside two extras who are currently extracting samples of T-Rex 2.0 from Jurassic World, and yes, they're making another dinosaur hybrid. One of the mercenaries remarks that anything in the water is dead by now after some nervous behavior is shown by the other person. Which, I mean, unless the Mosasaurus between Jurassic World and Jurassic World 2 somehow died, this is a complete fucking lie or a terrible assumption. The team sends the sample of the Indominus Rex to the surface of Isla Nublar, and who would have fucking thought the Mosasaurus isn't dead and eats them? We then shift our attention onto another person who retrieves the sample. He seems to be fundamentally fucked in the head based on how he can't tell there is some sort of problem when the rest of his team who are in the helicopter are waving their fucking hands attempting to get this dumbass away from the T-Rex who only a moron could not notice at this point. The man up to this point had been attempting to shut the gate leading to the outside world with an iPad, but drops it after he sees the T-Rex coming his way. The dinosaur of course steps on it, causing the gate to remain open for some reason, which is not explored at any point later on in the film. What follows next is the worst action scene I have possibly ever seen. Through a combination of jumpy editing, terrible lighting, and poor cinematography, we get to witness what appears to be a very low-stakes chase as the man attempts to board the leaving helicopter. He barely escapes with his life, but wait, the Mosasaurus eats him, and only him, right before he is finally safe, and yes, everything in Fallen Kingdom is this fucking convenient. The opening bit is a great indicator for how this movie's going to go. Moronic fucking bad guys, really bad performances, poor camera work, and laughable attempts at filmmaking. After the big dumb logo goes across the screen, we are then treated to news reports about what is happening, which is without a doubt the laziest form of exposition. At this point, I've realized they've turned a classic with great characters like Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler into a hulking sack of shit franchise which only the most brain defective will clamor for more. And to think, people wanted the director of the first film and co-writer of this to direct an episode of Star Wars. Safe to say, more fire wasn't added to the giant fucking blaze that is the new direction of my favorite franchise. After being spoon-fed the information that the dinosaurs are currently in danger of an imminent volcanic eruption, we then cut to a debate in the United States Senate over whether there should be involvement on behalf of the government. Dr. Ian Malcolm from the original Jurassic Park gives his perspective that the dinosaurs should be left to die, comparing genetic alterations to nuclear warheads. This is similar to his philosophy of recreating dinosaurs being a terrible idea from the original Jurassic Park, but Ian was always rational and from my belief would never make a comparison this fucking dumb. While other countries in this universe may develop genetic alteration technology, that won't make it viable in war. If Chris fucking Pratt in a CGI raptor can take down the most powerful creature to ever exist, then surely an F-35 can do some damage. Also, as the film expects the packed theater to have a combined IQ of 100, this is of course explained to us again, as it assumes most of the people watching have no fucking clue what analogies are. We are then reintroduced to Bryce Dallas Howard's character Claire Deering, running some sort of group for dinosaurs with the main goal to influence the federal government so they intervene in the volcanic eruption on Isla Nublar. She of course is delivering the performance of someone who clearly wants to go home as soon as possible and is putting in as little effort as one can. We also meet the very important characters Zai Rodriguez and Franklin Webb. They not only deliver bad performances but also have nothing to do as well. We also learn Zai is a doctor and Franklin is a technician through extremely clunky dialogue. I don't want to blame Colin Trevorrow entirely, but I'm starting to have a sneaking suspicion that he deserves a large portion of credit in producing the cinematic dump after the Book of Henry. We learn through another news report that the government will not be involving itself in the evacuation of dinosaurs. Bryce Dallas Howard throws a fit over lab abominations being condemned to death through inaction and receives a phone call asking for her to come to the estate of Benjamin Lockwood. Everything happens suddenly. There's no time to breathe, no time to process any events. We never get to hang on to any scene and let the characters act, but asking for any sort of emotional nuance from Fallen Kingdom is like asking my cousin to stop fucking me in my sleep. What follows next next is Claire arriving at the Lockwood estate, and in a scene that is truly disgusting, they linger on a picture of John Hammond. The only time they try to invoke some sort of emotion besides very cool is by using a reference to Jurassic fucking Park, because they know it's the only thing with some sort of heart in this godforsaken elephant-sized shit of a movie. You are manipulating people into feeling an emotion because everyone behind this is a fucking puppet with no real fucking feelings. Sincerely go fuck yourself, Universal. You make me wish a company could get AIDS. Claire meets Eli Mills, who I thought would be the main bad guy as soon as I saw him on screen. It's predictable as shit, and people calling it a good twist that he turns out to be evil makes me want to never have children for the fear they will turn out as brain dead as those individuals. The only thing that twisted in that theater was my neck while trying to snap it. Mills explains that Lockwood is apparently partially responsible, along with Hammond, for the creation of Jurassic Park. You may be wondering, where was Lockwood during Jurassic Park? And lads, this is a simple retcon. They needed to write a plot, and it doesn't matter that it's complete horseshit. Mills also tells Claire that they have to set up an island for the soon-to-be re-extinct creatures to be safe and at peace. Lockwood comes down from his room to explain the importance of this by once again referencing John Hammond, and once again, I want to shove my dick into a porcupine every fucking time they do this. The last piece of information we are told about Lockwood is that he has a grandchild he's extremely close to after losing his own daughter. You know how I'm explaining every detail of the plot by just telling you outright what happens? This is what fucking happens in Fallen Kingdom! Nothing is ever shown, we are only told the traits of characters, the relationships between these characters, and the events unfolding. Even if you're gonna tell us outright what's exactly happening at that exact very moment, don't just have characters walk and talk in very uninteresting environments. It's like the prequels on steroids. You know what movie handled its exposition far superior? Jurassic fucking Park. The Mr. DNA sequence is extremely entertaining, in large part because it's giving us the information in a clever way. So Claire is needed for this project because her handprint is required to access the tracking system for every dinosaur on the island. Mills mentions how they can save exactly 11 species that are needed for some reason, but you know, when I counted when he's sliding his finger on his iPad showing pictures of each dinosaur, there's only fucking 10. I don't care if this is a nitpick, there's a consistent lack of attention to detail in this movie. Mills also says the most important species to save is the raptor, specifically Blue, due to her being intelligent. This leads to Mills asking Claire to go retrieve Chris Pratt, who now happens to build houses for some reason, you know, not an animal trainer. That would make too much sense. Claire and Chris talk about how their relationship failed after the events of Jurassic World, and it's not surprising in the least considering the utter lack of chemistry between these two. Them both giving bad performances doesn't help in the slightest to make their interactions unbearable at best. The first interesting narrative subplot is introduced in that Chris Pratt doesn't care about his raptor Blue anymore, and it is a reason why he doesn't come to help on Isla Nublar. This is of course undone within the next few minutes, as all it takes for Pratt to join their mission is to watch a few videos of Blue. So the plane leaves with our four main characters, and at this point we are introduced to a very funny character trait of Franklin's, in which he is terrified of practically everything, especially flying. This does not get old or unfunny in the slightest. You know, telling the same joke over and over again actually makes the joke even funnier. Bet you didn't know that. We then come back to the Lockwood estate, and we are finally introduced to my least favorite character, shitty granddaughter actress, and yes, her performance made me fucking laugh. It's that bad. The only character traits we learned of her during this scene, and frankly throughout the movie, is that she's adventurous and she wants to know more about her dead mother. Don't worry, everyone's one or two defining character traits always have the purpose of pushing the narrative forward, because why would you write characters with more dimensions than you need to? What are you, some kind of fucking pussy licker? Fuck you. You're trying to write some good characters? Get out of here with that weak shit. That doesn't make money. Fallen Kingdom returns to our leads arriving on Isla Nublar. They are greeted by a secondary antagonist who we will call the Mercenary Tooth Fairy, because as the name implies, he only wants to get paid and also collects the teeth of every fucking dinosaur he comes across. This unique character trait will definitely not come back to bite him in the ass, because this movie is not predictable whatsoever. The gang is transported to the original site of Jurassic World, now laid in ruin after the devastation we witnessed from the first movie. We get another fantastic gag of Franklin being scared shitless, and this time over the potential encounter with a T-Rex. This happens so often you could probably play a decent drinking game out of it, so I decided to actually fucking make one. It's on the screen, but I do warn you, if you so choose to play this game, you'll probably fucking die, but that'd probably be better than watching this colossal failure. We see our first dinosaur in about 20 minutes, and the film plays this as if though we were supposed to feel some sort of magic within ourselves. Zai remarks how this is the first one she has ever seen, but for us, the aura is gone. These CGI shits don't look any better or any different than the first Jurassic World. You want an actual convincing performance of seeing these resurrected animals for the first time? Watch the original Jurassic fucking Park. I want these films to stop pretending they have any sort of heart. They beat any life out of Fallen Kingdom with their cold, dead, greedy club of studio influence. Claire, with the help of Franklin, gets the trackers back on, leading Zai, Chris, and Tooth Collector Badman to search for Blue. Zai also gets a moment to totally own the Tooth Collector when he mentions she may not be capable to go out hunting for a literal killing machine, but who cares about logic? Not this fucking movie, because it's just dumb fun according to anyone who likes this travesty. Chris leaves the group to retrieve Blue by himself. The mercenary remarks how he will be there to help with a team of 15 men. What the fuck kind of crack are the writers smoking, and can I please get some? If you have 15 fucking men going to surround the most intelligent creature on the island, don't you think Blue would notice? Maybe Blue is still the smartest out of everyone in the movie, but considering the complete fucking mental deficiency of anyone on the screen, that isn't much of a benefit. Chris reconnects with his little buddy, and who would have guessed the team of mercenaries shoots Blue with a tranquilizer without waiting for the signal. Blue proceeds to attack one of the members of the group, which in response the individual being attacked shoots Blue with an actual gun. Chris gets shot with a tranquilizer after charging the head mercenary. Zai then pulls a fucking gun out for some reason, and Zai is forced to keep Blue alive or she will be killed. Whatever chance this movie had of being somewhat interesting is immediately fucking gone. We as an audience are supposed to be shocked by this quote-unquote twist, but if I were rushing out a script, this is exactly what I would have done. Also, for some reason, the main characters are mad at the head mercenary for the actions of one of his subordinates wounding Blue. If you're being attacked by a fucking raptor, you are entirely justified in shooting it. Our leads are basically PETA members, but somehow even more delusional. Zai also does not plead for Chris to be taken with them, and they leave him to die in the middle of an island. No one appears to have a consistent character. One moment she seems to care for Chris, and the next, not a fuck is to be given about his life. Claire and Franklin now find themselves locked in the control room due to the actions of the mercenaries, while a fucking volcano is starting to erupt because of course it is. Mercenary Fairy demands his money while the great and powerful Mills shows the first signs of his dramatic twist of being a bad guy. He yells at the granddaughter for interrupting his phone call because the mark of a great villain is when they raise their voice at a child for being a pestering little shit. I'd fucking yell at this kid as well. Hell, I would throw her off a cliff if I were able to. Does that make me the bad guy? Of course not. We cut back to Chris Pratt, who at this point should be dead after receiving a tranquilizer meant for dinosaurs. If you assume that they would use something similar to an elephant tranquilizer, which is 10,000 times stronger than morphine, this should kill him immediately. But after about 5 minutes or so, he is awakened by the very hilarious tongue of a dinosaur, and yes, they dedicate an ungodly amount of time to him being licked because ew, gross, ha, fucking ha. Pratt, somehow not being dead, doesn't have full control of his limbs, but once he sees the lava coming towards him, Chris regains muscle movement through the power of positive thinking and is able to escape. This scene is not only extremely unfunny, but also has no basis within any sort of reality. If you aren't going to follow any sort of established rules, how can you expect us to feel a little bit of tension? If Chris Pratt can superhero his way through the jaws of a Tyrannosaurus, how are we not to expect him to survive every other situation that would literally kill anyone else? After Chris escapes his predicament, Claire and Franklin, being the bright characters that they are, still seem to be trying to get help until a very scary Baronic shows up and they are forced to find a way out. My favorite thing about this scene is that Franklin literally fights this motherfucker for a chair. The dino has the chair in his fucking mouth while the kid attempts to pull it away. You know, I wouldn't think this is entirely awful if this was tonally consistent. At times, Jurassic World does want you to take it very seriously and feel for these characters, while at other times we get shit like this. Go for the insane B-movie that is entirely self-aware, or make an actual movie that gives a shit. Choose one. It has a bit of the Deadpool wink to it, but it just doesn't fucking fit. Claire and Franklin are able to exit, of course, leaving the poor animal trapped in the concrete base to die a slow and painful heat death from the lava. You see, it's okay to let these creatures die when they're attacking you, but when they're attacking the bad guys, fuck you for defending yourself. Chris Pratt joins up with our now new indirect animal killers, and they are now literally running amongst all all these beasts fleeing from the eruption. Not once do they ever get trampled, hurt, or seem to be in any danger whatsoever. The group hides behind this massive log with one of the old tour vehicles from the first Jurassic World in front of them. These gigantic monsters are smashing this log to bits besides the tour ball. How convenient. Everything happens just because the script needs it to. Why need immersion when you can just make it blatantly obvious there isn't a single shit to be given? Hey, speaking of convenient, we get a truly awesome sequence of events where the door to the pod closes right before Chris is able to get in with the others, whilst a beta male version of a T-Rex attempts to eat Chris Pratt. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't the end of the luck train, because an actual Tyrannosaurus is able to kill the cuck little shit, but diddle me in the ass, he is able to hit the pod with his tail. Not because the dinosaur wants to, but due to this movie being built around plot miracles that have no attachment to any sort of reality. He is literally walking away and his tail barely scathes the pod. Why do I even care about Fallen Kingdom when no one on this project did? The ball orb, or whatever the fuck it is, being hit by that tail sends it rolling towards the ocean. Chris Pratt is now forced to save the two idiots because we can't let Claire or Franklin show any sort of ingenuity, because that would require the writers to actually try and think of something clever. Pratt just shoots the door and they're able to escape by pushing on it hard enough. They swim to the top and acknowledge that they've been betrayed if it wasn't obvious enough to the audience already. Since the tracker for Blue was destroyed during the plunge into the ocean, they must now go to the military encampment preparing to leave and find her themselves. While the group overlooks the makeshift headquarters, we see them loading the dinosaurs onto their ships. This results in an unintentionally hilarious scene where the mercenary Tooth Fairy stops a truck during this very time-sensitive operation to collect a tooth. There's lava coming their way quickly and he lacks the brain cells to do this on the ship instead. The group quickly summarizes that they were only needed to track Blue and now they must find a way onto the ship before they get toasted quite literally. We then get a very lazy action set piece where our team narrowly avoids explosions, flying volcanic debris, and of course must jump from the island into a ship with a truck that was left behind. They of course make this jump and no one thinks to inspect the truck that came aboard last second. That would require too much intelligence from the bad guys. Claire, in broad fucking daylight, body sticking out her window with soldiers right near her, watches as one of the long-necked bastards goes down in a blaze of glory. This scene was meant to invoke some sort of emotion, but since it was never earned, the only thing that was invoked out of me was laughter. We return to Mills, who's revealed to be the bad guy officially when he sets up an auction with a man entitled Gunnar Eversole, which is a pretty great name in all honesty. We learn the purpose of this auction is to earn money for future endeavors for Eli Mills, specifically to fund genetic modification research for dinosaurs, with the main focus being war. If you thought we weren't rehashing the same shit from the original Jurassic World just yet, the next piece of information given to us is that they have created a new hybrid raptor designed solely for hunting, with the added benefits of following commands from the DNA of the Indominus Rex. They can't even plagiarize creatively. These motherfuckers turned in the same essay twice. Not to mention, you got a D on this paper as well. At least copy something good, or better yet, write something original. Even if it's shit, it would be more entertaining than what we got. God, I want to jam a stop sign into my asshole. The little granddaughter shit was overhearing this conversation the whole time and goes to inform Lockwood of this because he apparently has no idea that a huge fucking auction with international criminals is being held at his estate while he is there. Lockwood tells the little one that he will handle this tomorrow because shit like this can definitely wait. We return back to the cargo ship carrying our main heroes, and they are now sneaking around attempting to locate Zai and Blue. Lucky for them, they are able to find their location without any sort of trouble because that wouldn't be convenient for them at all. Zai tells Chris and Claire that Blue will die unless he receives a blood transfusion from a 2- or 3-fingered carnivore. Just their luck, only one creature on this ship fits that description. Not two, not none at all, exactly one. This definitely isn't the most lazy way of quote-unquote raising the stakes. Awesome! Claire and Chris are able to locate this massive shit, allowing them to gain enough plasma for Blue to survive. This goes fine for the most part until the guards all of a sudden are able to start noticing little changes in their surroundings for this scene only. They close the door to the cargo crate containing this massive beast, Claire and Chris. Right after that, the gigantic asshole wakes up, but Claire is able to escape while screaming, which the guards obviously don't notice. She goes around the front, opening the door for Chris, and he jumps through the fucking teeth of this monster, allowing him to escape. Oh, look everyone, whatever parts of me wanted to live just figuratively hung themselves. Mills. We return to the young one who has now snuck down to the secret laboratory of evil, and she spends this time watching Chris Pratt videos where he trains his raptor. You know, instead of doing actual productive snooping. Fucking brilliant. They use this moment of her watching footage of Blue to try and build some sort of emotional payoff when it is announced that he will survive the bullet wound. The only problem is that they show these scenes back to back. The reason you have build-up is so you can get that nice anticipation like when you're on a roller coaster. The most memorable parts of the coaster come during the big drop, and this big drop is made even more effective due to the building tension as your cart slowly crawls along the tracks. We return to the small moron who must now hide as she hears Mills with Dr. Henry Wu approach her position. Wu makes it very clear that he must have Blue in order to control the Indoraptor. Can't you just get Chris Pratt to help you? Why does it have to be Blue? Why is young fuck making her presence and movement so blatant near two people she knows to have bad intentions? How do they not notice her right away? She is literally moving damn close to 5 feet away from them. This scene not only gives me mental syphilis, but also raises so many fucking questions that are never answered. The tiny human is finally caught and sent to her room, which is now guarded by the housekeeper. Mills is told that Lockwood must speak with him immediately. Before we can hear their interaction, we switch back over to our main heroes who have now arrived on land. Somehow the main fucking mercenary boy does not notice Chris, Claire, or Franklin, who are hiding very noticeably near the door of the storage crate when he comes to ask for blood samples of the now recovered raptor. He remarks that Zaya is a nasty woman for forcing him to do the retrieval himself. A guard starts to come around the back and Chris is able to escape just before he is seen, but Franklin isn't so lucky. These enforcers at this point are Metal Gear Solid levels of fucked in the brain. Most security workers will investigate an area heavily if they notice something slightly off. This does not happen. Either Mills hired the worst fucking private military or they're extremely lazy and careless. Franklin is assumed to be a member of their company and is told to follow because he clearly seems to be that type of person. It's not like they have physical requirements for this job. Even when Franklin is unclear of what loading out means, this doesn't raise any red fucking flags, not to mention his lack of any uniform or something similar to what everyone else is wearing. Chris and Claire must now find a truck so they can join the convoy, and of course they find an empty one with the keys already inside it. This is of course after a guard walks directly past them without noticing them, and another hits the driver's side door telling them it's time to move out. How the fuck does this private military get any business? It cannot be profitable to have staff who use an excessive amount of brain power to breathe. We see dinosaurs being moved into the underground laboratory, waiting until they are sold during the auction, but wait, it's time for us to watch the best unintentionally hilarious scene in all of Fallen Kingdom. Lockwood tells Mills that he knows about the auction, and I shit you not, he tells Mills to call the police on himself. If this wasn't great enough already, Mills smothers him to death with a pillow. I have so many questions, but the big one is, why was he told to call the police on himself? Here's a friendly fucking tip that has a 0% effectiveness rate. We also learn that Mills' justification for all of his evil deeds is because he was given the ability to do this. A better example of this is someone saying that Honda is evil because they can take their car and run over pedestrians with it. That doesn't make you less of a shitty person and certainly gives you no justification for your actions. Claire and Chris are finally captured after they drive past an individual who isn't a complete fuck puppet. The head mercenary remarks how they would have had a better chance of surviving on the island that is now engulfed in lava. Mills confronts them and apologizes. He remarks how he can at least acknowledge he is exploiting these creatures, while Claire can't due to her approving the creation of the Indominus Rex because this guy doesn't understand the importance of context. He also blames Chris of not understanding the entire impact his research would have. I'm going to explain as simply as possible why this is complete horseshit. A creator of a product or concept generally is not responsible for what is done with their product as long as their intentions are morally sound. The creator of the bathtub is not liable and morally reprehensible for creating it because I tried to drown my cousin Ted in his or her product. Chris Pratt shouldn't be blamed or celebrated if his new techniques for training raptors are used to kill objectively inferior humans like furries. Villains don't have to be morally justified in the case of someone like Thanos, but you need to be able to understand where they're coming from, and I simply don't see how his motivations are logical in any way. The little girl is able to unlock the door to her room because Mills left the key in the fucking keyhole. She sees the housekeeper and decides to go look out the window instead. We get to see this hilariously long line of cars full of the worst arrive at the mansion. I mean, someone should notice this, right? Not one investigative journalist or any cop comes to stop by. On this note, Claire and Chris should have would ditch the convoy, call in a kidnapping or some sort of terrorist threat, and point the police towards the Lockwood estate basement. This would bring SWAT, FBI, and all that shit there, but that'd be too intelligent. While this is happening, the Rugrat has started scaling along the side of the estate, eventually reaching her grandfather's room, likewise realizing he is dead. Within the minute this has happened, Eli believes the young human is now in the old man's final resting place and comes to investigate. Scratch that, he yells the name of the housekeeper who has basically raised this child and dismisses her permanently. So he came up to the room to let this servant go and inform her of Lockwood's death at nearly the same time as the child coming into the room. This point is proven when he hears a noise coming from a vent or cabinet she is hiding in and walks over to investigate. How is this a movie? This is equivalent to letting Louis C.K. jizz on a paper and film it. We return to Claire asking Chris when was the first time he ever saw a dinosaur. Clearly this question is also meant to invoke the magic of seeing dinosaurs on screen for the audience, but for me it only reminded me of the much better Jurassic Park. We don't get much time to focus on a potentially good character interaction because Chris Pratt just remembered that every single scene has to be focused on forwarding the plot solely. Character progression is lame as fuck apparently. He notices a dinosaur with a battering ram for a head who he will get to smash through the brick wall like fucking medieval times, but before I get into this a little more, we return to the start of the auction. The first dinosaur that is sold is the Ankylosaurus. It is compared to a walking tank and used as a selling point. Why not just get a real tank? An Ankylosaurus's top speed is 6 miles per hour. An M1 Abrams, the current tanks the United States military uses, can reach up to 45 miles per hour. Has the other countries fallen so far behind us they have to resort to dinosaurs to catch up? Let's get those comments down below pumping with some USAs. Let's get some America pride up in here. America's the best country, obviously. While footage cuts back and forth between the battering ram smashing his head into the brick wall separating our main characters from it and the dinosaurs being sold, we get my least favorite visual effect in Hollywood. The classic you can see everything on the computer screen based on the reflection of someone's glasses. It's fucking played out. The piece of shit smashes through the brick wall only after a few runs at it and proceeds to charge down the iron door as well, leading Claire and Chris to escape. The little girl has been watching them this whole time and proceeds to run away. Our heroes corner and begin to speak to the scared little child. In what may be the least terrible scene in all of Fallen Kingdom, they're able to find a common ground with her over dinosaurs. I might have actually classified this scene as good if it were not only longer but also had dramatically improved performances. Of course, that would be asking too much from this glorified advertisement for toys. We get interchanging footage of Claire, Chris, and their new friend proceeding to the auction while a new item is shown to all the participants, a freshly created Indoraptor. What made the Indominus Rex more effective was it being the focus of the plot. It wasn't good, but it was less bad than this shit. Fallen Kingdom has a serious problem with constantly introducing new elements. I'm not saying this because I was confused. My reason for telling you all of this is due to the simple fact we don't get enough time to flesh out these plot points. Everyone is doing different things. Unlike Infinity War, it isn't handled with the same skill as the Russo brothers. I wish when Thanos snapped it would have disintegrated everyone who worked on Fallen Kingdom. The auctioneer begins to explain how the Indoraptor operates on a targeting laser-based system. This isn't a special system either. It's shown that a laser sight attached to a firearm with an acoustic signal can do the trick. What's to stop your enemy from recreating that signal and then doing the exact same thing? Oh, you didn't put any thought into Fallen Kingdom? You thought people were going to blindly masturbate in the theater while watching this? Oh, okay. Just like Ubisoft, despite the bugs with the current Indoraptor, this motherfucker is still going to be sold despite the protest of the head developer. Henry Wu says that they will make more if they get a hold of him now, but what's to stop them from making more once it's not a prototype? That's the only reason he is objecting, because it's not done. How is the man portrayed as the most intelligent also the fucking one whose brain cells seem to have committed suicide? Just in time, not only has battering ram from before made it onto the floor of the auction, but it also found a way to figure out the fucking elevator. This isn't me speculating either, because he literally comes out of one. Our boneheaded friend starts to smash things up, sending everyone into a frenzy. Also, considering this cunt can break a literal brick fucking wall, he should be killing every person he runs over, but that'd give them a very naughty R rating. Mills attempts to send the Indoraptor back to the basement, but Chris Pratt doesn't like this for some reason. I actually have no idea why he doesn't like this, but he proceeds to take down 5 or so guards to get to the man controlling when the creatures come in and out. You know, Training animals all your life and serving in the Navy allows you to take on highly trained mercenaries? Actually, considering how mind-numbingly fucking stupid they've been, this gives Chris a realistic chance of winning. Speaking of mercenaries, remember how our friend, the leader of this group, enjoys yanking the teeth out of these creatures? Well, it's time for that to come full circle. He walks into the now empty hall and demands his bonus for delivering Blue. He sees the Indoraptor and proceeds to neutralize it with Tranks. This motherfucker goes into the cage and attempts to pull a tooth out of the now sleeping killing machine. Surprise, surprise, turns out he was never asleep, and this is demonstrated through the Indoraptor looking at the fucking camera. You know, the one thing you're not supposed to do unless breaking the fourth wall and therefore shattering the immersion of the audience? This is filmmaking 101. The Indoraptor kills him, but of course out of focus and off to the side. Can't scare the kids too bad because all kids movies have lost any sort of edge they used to have. Jurassic Park literally shows a chewed up human arm. While the movie is tying up loose ends, immediately after this happens, we see the auctioneer running towards the elevator. He of course gets eaten because it's Fallen Kingdom. If you're expecting something interesting to happen at this point, you're a complete fucking moron. We cut back to our characters escaping until Mills confronts them again. Chris and Claire ask him to walk away so they can end this. I must inform everyone, if you aren't ready for the greatest plot twist of all time, we'll open your asshole because Fallen Kingdom doesn't give a shit. Mills tells us what actually drove Lockwood and Hammond apart was the death of Lockwood's daughter, so to recuperate after this tragedy, he cloned his daughter. The clone is in fact the little shit that's been in this movie. I explained this to my friend and he thought I was a dirty liar. Not only does this come out of nowhere with no clues whatsoever, especially considering I watched this garbage twice, but what does this add narratively to the story? I'm genuinely curious. I can't think of anything. She doesn't struggle with it and it only influences her decisions once. Someone punch me in my ass until it turns purple. Fuck. Since they needed a setup for a sequel, Dr. Henry Wu packs up his research and we finally return to the fantastic character of Franklin, who is now pretending to be a lab assistant. I fucking love it when movies forget about characters and then add scenes during reshoots to make it work. Nut. We also see Zai, who is currently chained to the outside of the cage of Blue. Wu would like for her to retrieve a blood sample, but she explains that his blood is contaminated due to the transfusion from earlier. Franklin decides to knock out the good doctor, allowing him the chance to steal his keys. He is able to free Zai and Blue right when security arrives. If you're drinking every time something convenient happens, at this point you're just gonna give me a whole lot of watch time as your dead body autoplays through the rest of my content. Our two very important main characters notice a gas leak. Accordingly, they run away. Somehow Blue noticed this as well and is able to exit in the nick of time. These raptors are basically Caesar levels of intelligent at this point. Claire, Chris, and Clone are now sneaking through the estate. The Indoraptor finds them and they are forced to hide. They play a game of cat and mouse with the world's deadliest creature. Let me be clear, this monstrous killing machine is struggling to find them and keep up. If my $30 million war machine was able to be outmaneuvered by this guy, then I'm getting a fucking refund, you horse swindling shit. The gang heads upstairs and the animal with an unrivaled sense of smell is having trouble finding them. It's genuinely hysterical. Chris Pratt's first hiding place also contains the breaker for the entire estate, so he decides to shut down the power for some reason. They're able to sneak through a small portion of this estate unnoticed until Zai and Franklin turn the power on, because if they didn't, gas would be released into the containment area for all the dinosaurs. Again, another point of this movie trying to handle too much shit all at once and doing it so poorly. This movie is giving the same attention to its narrative as my mom gives to me. The small shit stirrer screams as soon as the power turns on, alerting this cunt to their presence. Some of the decorations start to fall on and around them, keeping Claire somewhat safe until the Indoraptor sinks its claw into her leg. Before anything happens to our heroes with too many negative consequences, Clone screams while running away, attracting the Indoraptor's focus. You know who my favorite characters are? The ones that scream really fucking loud. While she is being chased, she makes her way to this vent cupboard sort of thing. Doesn't really matter, but she fucking gets inside and waits a solid 5 seconds before slamming the door shut. I don't know if she missed a cue or if that was intentional, but she isn't struggling with the door. The reason why this happened is just lost upon me. She just waits for the Indoraptor to get as close as possible prior to her shutting it. We revert back to Claire and Chris. Claire tells her lover that she will be fine, but he needs to go help the artificial human child as soon as possible. They kiss, I don't care, and Indoraptor is now on the roof. What happens next is truly glorious. This Aztec is now scaling this huge estate and finds the exact room the little girl is in. Now the window is shut, so we all would expect this very powerful creature to smash his way through. true, right? I shit you not, he turns the window handle with his claw. That's his method of entering. How does a dinosaur this fucking smart get defeated by Chris Pratt? Oh, wait, I know. It's because this creature is only intelligent whenever the writers want it to be. This killing machine is now toying with its food, which allows Chris Pratt to come inside and shoot it before Scream Queen dies. Real quick, like Mr. Pratt shoots the Indoraptor 3 times and it staggers the animal. So while this scrotum sucker is clearly stunned, why does he lower the gun? Wouldn't you want to finish off this highly dangerous beast? I actually would have supported Chris's decision to lower the weapon if it resulted in his and every other main character's death so we wouldn't get another installment in this god-awful franchise. Blue shows up in the nick of time, allowing our now endangered heroes to run away. They make it to the top of a glass roof, but the Indoraptor has tracked them there. They fucking fall off, but we get the classic cliche of a character, in this case Big Boy Pratt, grabbing onto a ledge because it's definitely not an extremely lazy way of building tension. Speaking of lazy, Claire shows up with the targeting system for the Indoraptor. She points the laser at Chris Pratt for some reason. She turns on the sonic signal needed for the attack to commence, and Pratt slides under this literal abomination. Next, the Indoraptor breaks the glass after leaping and is now dangling on a beam right above a metal spear decoration. Stay with me, we are going full fucking stupid at this point. Blue comes out of nowhere and leaps onto the Indoraptor, sending them both towards the spear down below. Blue misses the spear while the Indoraptor is impaled and dies. I'm sorry, but what the genuine shit just happened? There are several gaping plot holes and contrivances. How the fuck did Blue survive the initial encounter with the world's deadliest creature? Why did Claire point the laser directly at Chris? How did the Indoraptor get impaled but not Blue? I don't think I can describe in human words not only how fucking moronic Fallen Kingdom is, but also how happy I am that this shit is almost finished. All of our friends eventually meet back up, but don't fucking worry, we aren't done yet. Franklin and Zai let the others know they have a predicament downstairs. We learned the blast from earlier damaged the ventilation system, and if they don't release the dinosaurs, they will all die. Now there's a pretty clear choice here. Let them die! I'm sorry, but if you let these animals out, people will die and the military will kill or capture them anyways. The only rational character at this point is Chris Pratt, who says, "Be careful, this isn't an island anymore." Claire is struggling with this choice and almost pushes the button. I thought about walking out at this point due to how shitty this has become. Thank God I did not, because the clone releases them and says they're alive like me. Funniest line of dialogue all year. I have no idea who let this happen, but thank you for that. To tie up loose ends, we also get to see Mills being eaten alive by 2 competing dinosaurs. It's been a solid 15 or 20 minutes. Why is he still at the estate? Fuck, I don't even care. We're almost done. Blue and Chris give each other a little see you again kind of thing, which leads to Blue running off into the wilderness. The last 2 or so minutes is intercutting footage of our characters leaving the mansion, the dinosaurs coming into parts of civilization, and Henry Wu aboard a cargo plane with his research. This all happens while Jeff Goldblum explains in a very ham-fisted manner what the plot of the next movie is going to be. Humans interacting with dinosaurs on the mainland because T-Rex in San Francisco worked like a charm in Lost World. What could go wrong? Is there any positives in this movie? I mean, from a visual standpoint, it's fine. That is really it in terms of things I unironically liked. This movie is just a visual and audio STD. There are no character arcs whatsoever. Nobody learns anything besides Claire, I guess, but she's only enlightened in the end. There is no progression. The dialogue is some of the worst of the year, with absolutely no nuance or skill put behind it. It's shot with a lack of any imagination or creativity. The acting is phoned in at best, atrocious at worst. Everything is built on fucking coincidences and conveniences. Universal could have filmed a man shitting on a table for an hour and I would have been more entertained than watching Fallen Kingdom. I'm giving Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom a solid 1 out of 10. My recommendation for this video is the first Jurassic Park. Thanks for watching, leave a like, comment, and share, and subscribe, hit the bell, farewell.